I was in Halifax in Canada training a group of managers in an organization, and we had just gone through the pyramid, discussing each level and exploring that, and we're headed for a break, lunch break. One of the managers came up to me and said, I really like this idea of the pyramid, but I've got a problem. I don't see how it helps. And he said, I have a new employee, he's just been here a few months, good worker. The way the union has voted is people with seniority, more years, get to choose what shift they're on, and we only have 2 shifts, night shift, day shift. About 3.5 weeks ago, I get an email from him. Email saying I got to be put on the day shift. I can't do night shift. Well, I emailed him back and explained that that's against the union regulations. We can't do that. He emailed me back. And in that, he, again, makes this plea, I got to be put on day shift. So now I copy the union regs, I send that to him, and now for 3.5 weeks we've been trading emails, and his is the same, and it doesn't matter what I send him, he says I got to be put on day shift. So what is it about your pyramid that I should be thinking about that would help here? And I said, well, have you asked him why? Why is he making this request? And he said, no. And I said, well, look, it's lunch. Why don't you give him a call, see what you can find out? And he said, but it's midnight for him. I said, it's okay. I think it's an important call. We went to lunch. We came back from break. And he came up a little sheepishly this time. And he said, I found out some really troubling news. I discovered that his wife had actually been killed in an auto accident 4 weeks ago. And he's been trying to make it, but that means on a night shift, they have 2 small children, just barely in grade school. He sees them for about a half hour in the morning and about an hour at night. And he's drawing on the favors of his friends to be able to take care of his kids when he's not there. I mean, it's a terrible situation, but he said, I don't know what to do. He said, but the union regs say that we can't do this. And I said, why don't you discuss it with him? We stayed in contact. About a month and a half later, he told me the resolution to it, which was the union had voted to make an exception to allow him to go on a day shift because they liked him, felt he was a good worker, and they liked working with him. So often, we drop back on what we know, and we respond from that space. When we're getting the same thing over and over again, we ought to figure out that there's something I don't know here. The repeated emails ought to tell me there's something I don't know. And the listen and learn part of that pyramid just leapt out at me. I personally began to think about in my own family life how much listening and learning I had done with my own children. I remember leaving there and going back home and listening to what my children had been doing, what they were thinking and feeling, and discover things about my children that in all my busyness and travel I had not been paying attention to. And what I learned mattered.